I made a foundation. I put moss into the tank. And I made final decoration. In the last episode, after finishing the painting and watering test, we finally reached the last part of the project, install the moss. But before that, we need to build the foundation. The foundation included embedding mesh, sifting and filling soil, watering and laying lava stones. It might sound complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. Just follow my video step by step. I give it the stage about 2 stars out of 5 in difficulties, so it's very easy. Just use some flat screen mesh, cut it to shape with scissors, nothing fancy, just roughly outline the form you need, then fold it into a small tank shape. Each of these tanks will hold the soil and make sure the mesh fits nicely. Once the mesh is all set, it's time to sift the soil. I found some crushed soil by the roadside, broke it down a bit more, and put it through the same flat screen mesh. It worked surprisingly well, then start filling the tanks with the fine soil. I know the tool I'm using looks pretty rough right now, but that's fine since I plan to do some pottery later. I will make much better version next time. For now, this quick setup does the job. And if you are into this kind of DIY content, don't forget to subscribe for the next one. Keep sifting, keep filling. Once the soil is in, use a syringe to inject the water. Don't rush this step. Add small amounts several times so the water separates evenly. After watering, find holes in the tank and place the small stone at each opening. That keeps the soil from washing into the pipes. I'm really happy about the result so far. After finishing the foundation, we finally move to the most interesting part. We will add some moss, plant a few seeds, put some volcano rocks, and give everything a nice clean up. Honestly, I had never done this before. I thought it would be really difficult. Moss would be tricky to handle, but it turned out I was totally wrong. It's actually super simple. Let's take a look. For this step, you will need some basic tools: tweezers, cotton, volcano rocks, moss, and a bit of patience. We started by tearing the moss into small pieces and putting them into the tank, little by little. At first, we press them down gently by hand and then use tweezers to press and shape them together. If there's too much water in the tank, simply use cotton to absorb it. To make the moss more compact, drop a little rock on each side after covering the soil with the moss. Repeat this process a few times, just like that. The moss section is done. Once the 2 middle layers were complete, we moved on to the bottom layer, this time to bury some seeds. Before planting, we add a bit more yellow soil to the tank. This soil is pretty high quality, so there's no need to sift it. Just break it apart with your hands and soften it with a little water. Once the soil feels right, start burying the seeds. You can use tweezers to carefully place them where you want, then finish it by adding the remaining volcano rocks on the top. Volcanic rocks can keep the soil moist. They are full of tiny holes, which make them perfect for this kind of setup. After everything was in place, we gave them a final mist with a spray bottom, A for watering and B for cleaning up the walls. Use a bit of cotton to wipe away any dirt from the sides. If you don't have any cotton, a clean cloth works just fine. And with that done, we cleaned up the table and moved it on to making the base, the final touch to complete the project. According to the original plan, this part wasn't even here. But based on what I learned from last moss garden I made, I found that adding a small rotating device could make the whole setup feel more elegant. So using the same experience, I decided to make a new one for this Tetris moss garden. I started by cutting a few small made pieces with scissors, fixing down the base and attaching a new rotating section. Then I place some rocks right in between the plate and the base, a small detail that adds both texture and stability. Next, we 3D printed a signboard. First, apply the black Premiere, then paint it over with white, so we can get a mobile-like service. For the fine details in small gaps, I use a small brush to make sure the white color blocks look smooth and even. Once the base coat dried, I began to paint the main color of the sign. I choose purple and carefully paint the surface of the letters. And finally, we put the Lego minifigures on the building. And just like that, the whole pieces come together. Take a look, not bad, right? I really love how the whole project turned out. The result honestly is beyond my expectation. I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give it a like or share if something here inspired you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.